Hi there. I'm making this video to document my progress as a fledgling perfumer, or I should say nose. I'm definitely not classically trained at all. This mostly started off as a hobby for me right around summer of 2020. Like many of you, I was stuck at home thinking of things to kill the time with, and my sister wanted to get into candle making, and then it eventually led me to perfume making, and I thought I'd start off with a formula here for you. Of course, it starts off with ISO-E Super. If you do not know anything about perfumery, if you're wearing a cologne or perfume right now, it probably has ISO-E Super in it. This is it's a magical ingredient, I would say. It's woody is the primary smell people will say, but it really is something special. If you just smell straight into a bottle of ISO-E Super, it's truly one of a kind. But yes, it has a nice woody note that just makes everything else smell better, smell cleaner, more professional. So this formula is starting off with a base. I started off with 0.55 grams. I try to get as close as I can, but it's hard with pipettes, and as you can see, my scale will fluctuate just with air movement, and in a little bit here I bring out my notepad, and when I write down, it definitely makes the numbers go up and down, but generally speaking, I like to get at least to the hundredth. And so yeah, I started with 0.55, and then another ingredient, which is in many perfumes and colognes today, is Hedione. Now this is a light, airy, not quite sweet, and not powdery either, just it's hard to describe. It's more like a feeling. It's a clouds. Sweet would be the best proxy for it, but it just uplifts everything else you put into it, and it's one of those things, when it's not there, you definitely notice it, and when it is there, it just kind of helps bring everything else to life. It adds a nice velvety texture to the smell, if that makes any sense. And so for the Hedione, I put in 0.45 grams, so a little less than the ISO-E Super, but this is definitely like a solid backbone to make any base or accord with, and that's pretty much what I'm trying to do here. I'm not making a final perfume or cologne. I'm making a sort of a base of, I think it ends up being 8 ingredients, and this is what I like to do. I like to find a good starting off point, and then from here I can use this base and experiment with more top notes, more floral notes, more fruit notes, and see how they interact with a standard base, because I find it's a lot easier to learn when you have a constant and then you add on top of that. Next here we have Javanol. Now Javanol is it's a very, how do you describe it, almost sandalwood-like, woody, very soft, like a deep honey-like texture, and it brings that smell to mind as well. It just adds a nice, warm, woody, earthy background to the fragrance, and we have like the high clarity and sweetness of the Hedione, and we have the ISO-E Super, which is also woody, but Javanol is much more, I think more caramel-like, but also more like sandalwood, if you know what sandalwood is like. And we went with 0.1 grams for Javanol. And as you can see, I'm starting to write down notes, and I think a little later on I forget to write. I'm in the thousandth, but up to now we're good. And as you can see in the background is what I've acquired over the roughly 4 years I've been doing this. I'm still by no means an expert at all, and I'm just barely getting to know most of these ingredients, including coumarin, which is something I just recently started experimenting with. And this already came pre-diluted at 10%. Coumarin is it's similar to cinnamon. It's a little animalic, musk-like. It just adds a nice roundness to the fragrance. And as you can see, we also use 0.1 grams for that. And then the idea behind this base was to just have nothing too bright, nothing too strong, just a nice, calm, woody, little earthy, subtle base that I could jump off from, like I was saying earlier. And now we are onto Muscone, and this is, as the name implies, musk-like. It is not as animalic or even fecal as some musks can be. It's a very mellow musk. It's not too strong, but it does still bring the musky notes you're wanting. And for this, I was trying to do 0.05 grams. I went a little over, but that happens, and I try to just get as close as I can. I believe for the next one, we're still working on the musky base part of the fragrance. And this is Heliotropex. I believe I'm looking for it right now, and I finally found it. And it's a replacer for Heliotropin, which I recently learned apparently can be used to make MDMA, so it's hard to get a hold of. So this is a replacer that isn't as regulated, and it smells similar from what I can gather online. I haven't smelled actual Heliotropin, but this is almond-like, and it little sweet, and it works really well with the musks we just put in. It just is a nice low sweet flavor that we're adding. Also, apologies if I don't have the correct smelling notes on all these fragrances. This is just what it smells like to me. I would look up any of these and you can see a much more detailed explanation of the smelling notes. But for those, we have a nice musky, almondy base, and now I'm adding Irisnitrile. And it's not as flowery as, say, a straight iris accord, but it is very fresh, slightly floral, very slightly. It does not smell like flowers. That's not the first thing that comes to mind when you smell it. It's definitely just a fresh, kind of bright undertone, but not sour, not sweet, really. It's just a nice layering note. And we also use 0.1 grams of this. I think in future videos I'll try to do largest amount to least. I kind of started doing that and then I jumped up here. And at the end we have, I guess, the primary note. If you smell this, which is a black tea note. And we're going to use 0.4 grams, which is, I believe will be the third most next to Isui Super and Hedione. And this is the base that I was wanting. I wanted a nice tea note, but it had a nice warm undertones of the musks before, a little bit of the woody, sandalwoody Javanol note, and then the almond, and the bright, airy Irisnitrile. And so with this black tea, we finished at 1.8 grams total for the primary fragrance oils. There was a 10% dilution of the coumarin, so there is some DPG, or dipropylene glycol, in there. And then now we're going to add perfumer's alcohol. We're going to do 5.5 grams, and this will get us to roughly 25% dilution of the oils in the finished product. And this is for me to let macerate for at least 20 days. And then I'll smell it and see what it is like after that 20 days in alcohol, because a lot of times you'll make a fragrance and it smells a whole lot different at the end of the maceration period. But yeah, we finished with 25% dilution. And this is a lovely tea musky base. If you want to try it out, please let me know. Here's a list of the final ingredients: ISOE Super, Hedione, Javanol, Coumarin, Muscone, Heliotropex, Irisnitrile, and black tea. Thanks for watching.